So we'll see that kind of get some of those false errors, false reports and errors in the radar data.
Yeah, the winds just aren't as impressive as they once were.
No,
and these 50s are, you can probably lop about 15 to 20 mile per hour off of these because this is coming from the GSP. By the way, whenever we're explaining that, this is your terminal velocity. So this is showing what the speeds are towards the radar, away from the radar. And Greer-Spartanburg, let's go over Greenville-Spartanburg. This is coming all the way from right there. So how far away this is, and it's at like a 0.5 degree angle. It's about 90 miles away, and as that continues to increase, you're really looking about 7,000 to maybe 8,500 feet up into the atmosphere. So oftentimes the winds are much stronger up there. And we were watching one of our sky cams earlier about how quickly the clouds are moving. So you have really strong low-level jet associated with this. This is your house again.
Yeah.
Things are a little bit calmer.
Yeah, looking better there right now. Yeah, the radar beam from Greer, you know, I'm looking at, like, see if we go to the northeast side of town towards Hickory Grove area. Like Kimberly Glen Lane, the radar beam's at 5,551 feet from Greer, so it's pretty high up there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So we're over 5,500 feet above the
ground.
ground.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm messing with our visible satellite imagery, because we're seeing, if you already had that heavy line move through, especially from Steel Creek to Pineville, Rock Hill, you're likely seeing moderate rain that's soon going to change over to some lighter rain. Behind that, you already see a second coming of showers and storms that are now around Greenville, Greenwood. That's not too strong, but you do see a break in the cloud cover down here.
Yeah, you mentioned that, Chris. So I'm looking at the mesoanalysis on my laptop. There's a little area of increased what we call STP values in there, which is significant tornado parameter. So the ingredients in that clearing are becoming a little bit more favorable for rotation. And that second line, I think you're right, Chris.
That matches up. Probably I could add this onto there as well.
So between Columbia and Greenville, it's starting. That's going to be the next line. So this first one isn't going to be the only line today. We're likely going to get into a lull, and then the second line is going to come in probably during the peak heating of the day, closer to the evening hours. And that's closer to the rotation associated with this non-tropical low, which at the beginning of the stream, if you're watching, we were talking about, if this thing had sat over the Gulf of Mexico for another 24 hours, I think we would have had our first named storm. And so basically, this is acting like a remnant tropical storm or a tropical depression. To me, it looked like a tropical depression when I got up this morning and saw it on the radar. And you can see it developing down there.
Yeah, this is how it happened. If it stayed out there a little bit longer, but then, watch this. All right, so as it goes through, starting to generate itself.
It was just getting its act together.
Just getting its going. You see that rotation. Now it's getting all the moisture. I have it on super slow loop. Now it's starting to be pretty unstable, and then that's what we're looking at right now. And that was over the last 48 hours. Let's do the last 24 hours. So yeah, we're very close to the 8th year in a row of having a named storm before June 1st, which is the start of hurricane season. So there it is. That's classic. And oftentimes when we're talking about a tropical system, we say the outer bands. Technically, what's moving through right now in Charlotte would be an outer band of this storm system. And then it's usually the one that's a little bit closer to the rotation. And we'll show you the center of that again here. Let's fast forward this a little bit. You can see where the center of it is. Technically, the center is just north of Atlanta. So it's the closer you get to that, the more wind shear that you have. And I'm going to bring up our rotational tracks. You got something.
Pull up terminal real quickly. I got tightening rotation going on near Grove Park, Ravenwood area, Hickory Grove. Going a little closer there. We've got a little area that's starting to get tight. That's just your Candlewood. This is just east of the Plaza area. So definitely some stronger rotation, tighter rotation than we had earlier.
You actually have the first time really seeing gate-to-gate shear. Yeah. So you're seeing a negative number and a positive number, and that together. And this is our closest radar, so this is a little bit more accurate, showing up to about 50-mile-per-hour winds if there is that rotation.
Yeah, it just caught my eye real quickly, Chris, because that's the tightest I've seen it rotate.
Yeah, and look where here, when we can backtrack, look where it was. See, very loose, and you can see how it got a lot brighter, and then you're seeing it butting up again. So yeah, this is now the big watch.
Yeah.
So 24, W.T. Harris moving off towards the northeast. And this is what we were saying earlier. It was the northeastern side and the northeastern viewing area that has slightly more unstable conditions. Let's see if any. Make sure we have our watches and warnings turned on
so
here.
Make sure I didn't see my watch go off there. But yeah, if there's going to be a quick spin up going, that could have been an area where we saw it happen real quickly there.
Yeah,
and I'm zooming in.
That happened fast.
So the area we're looking at is the Grove Park area, Ravenwood, Embassy East. So you're looking, Jared, between Plot Road and basically Robinson Church Road and just near W.T. Harris, just there, kind of where those areas come together, Grove Park area. If you're familiar with that area, that's kind of where the rotation is. It's heading towards the Rolling Acres, Whispering Oaks area.
Rocky River Road, I'd watch.
And eventually towards, like you said, it's kind of heading towards 45, Harrisburg area. So just there, just east of the track in UNC Charlotte. Wow, that is probably the best we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's still broad, but we were saying, hey, we're on 30 minutes. See, I jinxed it. I blame myself because we haven't seen anything until this point. Yeah, let's see. Let's do another gate to gate, and gate to gate just means one side to the other. Let's show a little bit higher, picking up about 29 to 27, so that's close to 60 miles per hour. Still likely any winds should be around 30, 35.
Yeah.
Let's see what it looks like back on sweeping radar as we're doing this now. Seeing if we're getting a little notch inflow. So oftentimes, sometimes when you see that, you're going to see a little notch where the green starts to take over some of the heavy radar. You are starting to see a little bit thin out here near the Plaza Road extension. And matching that up, that would be just east of the rotation.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah.
It's definitely tighter than it's been. And what's interesting, too, is one thing I'm noticing, Chris, the rear flank downdraft, which is the wind on the backside, is becoming broader and bigger. And usually when we see things rotate or spin up at the surface, we get what's called a rear flank downdraft surge. It comes out of the back and spins it up on the front side. So the fact that we're getting some stronger winds on the backside is something I would look for tornado genesis, and you've seen this in some other storms. That's a pretty tight signature.
Yeah, and see, that's how it would work. It comes in from the rear flank, and then that's where you'd have the little notch. And then if you bring up, and then we have a positive lightning strike right in the rear flank as well.
So I wouldn't be surprised, Chris. I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on a warning here, but it might be too late by the time the warning comes out. I would say if you're watching right now in that part of town, the Ravenwood area, then up towards Rolling Acres, Whispering Oaks, 485, all those areas in northeast Charlotte, I would go ahead and just maybe get towards the middle of the house. I wouldn't say go all the way to the safe spot, but get in the middle of the house until this thing passes. I just don't like the looks of that on the radar right now.
Yeah, and general speed still looks to be about 35 to 40 miles per hour for the general push. So let's put a tracker on here. We'll start where we're seeing that rotation, and so right through here, it's moving off towards the northeast, northeast. Let's bring this up, make sure this is accurate for you. I'll average out 37. So areas that probably should be watching this, Harrisburg, that brings you about 148, or just pretty much eastern Charlotte.
Yeah.
That you can expect this. It means it is going to be crossing the 485 loop as well. Tom Query Road probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes as well.
Yeah, that area is not too far from Charlotte Country Club, just east of the Charlotte Museum of History. So you're heading towards that plaza area, Reedy Creek Park, those areas. That's where, and then eventually Harrisburg. So kind of a heads up for people in Cabarrus County. I think this is gonna track right into the Harrisburg Concord area, probably within the next 15 to 20 minutes, based on the movement. Yeah, that same area, that was 2012, I believe. That was a late February, March, middle of the night type tornado. That was EF2, I believe, in the Reedy Creek area. Actually ended up causing some significant damage at 2:35 in the morning, 2:36 or something. I remember I was here that night. It was a late night of streaming, and the thing was, it was like this. There was not a warning for it until after it passed, because it spun up so quickly. By the time it showed itself on the radar, it was gone. And this, that whole little line, Chris, honestly, looking at from Charlotte back into Union County, it's got some of those kinks again we were talking
Oh,
about.
there it is.
Getting some more, and that area is much more unstable than it was.
I'll draw along it so you can really see it. So you have one there, comes back. Didn't mean this big arrowhead, so it made it a little bit wonky. But yeah, no, that's classic QLCS. And you were seeing that earlier, and you weren't as much. So yeah, so if you're watching in Anson County, and you can see this is really starting to pick up the pace as well. So Wadesboro, that could be swinging towards you. So Anson County, you now have a chance. So let's see if we can pick up any of the rotation there. Let's see.
And, you know, the temperatures out there, Chris, got into the mid-80s today because the sun came out, or at least the clouds thinned. I'm looking at, you know, it's 83 over 70, which is the dew point, is 70. It's super muggy and hot out there. In fact, there was a mesoscale discussion for that area of watching for additional severe weather. No watch issued, only a 5% probability, but that was an area SPC was watching because the atmosphere is much more unstable here east of us.
80 degrees, 67. By the way, there's rain pool there. So likely we already hit our high temperature for the day because we're going to be stuck with some rain in between unless we break the clouds in between those batches. But yeah, 82 degrees in Sherrod, 80 degrees in Wadesboro. So Anson County, not to swing attention away from the Charlotte area and close into the Harrisburg area where we're now starting to still see that little bit of rotation. Still pretty broad. Here's the nose. See, it's not as impressive. You're still seeing
the back surging out a little bit, which is probably coming out. There's, I mean, right there in Tom Query Road and 45. It's definitely. I bet those are 50-mile-an-hour winds in there.
45.
Okay,
nailed it.
So about 45. Just like that area in your Plaza Road extension and 45. At the very least, Chris, there's damaging winds possible in that area.
Yeah. So now we're crossing 45 here.
So we're getting close to getting into Cabarrus County here shortly. Yeah, that thing it's moving.
Yeah, and by the way, you're looking at a really good example that it's not necessarily always the tornado warning. Truthfully, a lot of times in our areas, it's the first couple of minutes of the tornado warning or sometimes the minutes beforehand that you have this activity, but you're watching us online as it's happening right now. And look at that yellow.
Spin up again.
Yeah, it's really tightening here now. Because you can.
So I would heads up in Harrisburg, Chris. Now, I've seen this. That's 70, legit.
76.
That might be a tornado on the ground, guys.
Still no tornado warning, but we're going to treat it as a safe place. If you live off of Tom Query Road, it could be directly over you. Also, 49 Harrisburg. I would try to get it to an interior part. If you're watching on the phone, maybe you can take us with us. Turn the TV up.
Yeah, guys.
Wait, power's out over there. Yeah, so we might have a confirmed. Something's happening here that I'm really surprised we don't have a warning for, but I'm glad that you're with us if you are watching online. And we're always going to be here, by the way, when the weather's turning online.
Yeah, let's jump on air, guys, if we can, too, just briefly, for at least a cut-in, just to give people a heads up on this.
And then we'll jump back.
Even though there's not a warning with this, I want you guys, like Chris just said, to treat this like a warning because
that's significant.
There's probably something developing.
Yeah, I think you're at least seeing some wind gusts. And we're talking about the tightening of the rotation. This has been classic from what we saw here.
Yeah.
It was really nothing, and there's that tight. Oh, look at this, Brad.
Yeah, there's definitely getting a little tighter in
there.
Yeah,
and oh, here we go.
Is that the warning?
That's a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, they're issuing a severe thunderstorm warning. Probably a tornado tag in it, I bet.
Same.
They're issuing it for the other one?
Tornado warning. We do have a tornado warning. All right.
There it is. Okay.
All right. Getting ready to go on air.
So we kind of figured we were going to see this pop up, guys, just because of that threat.
There it is.
Yeah. So, guys, right around the Harrisburg area, I want you guys to go ahead and treat this like a tornado right now on the ground because I think just based on the reports we're getting, Chris, I don't think we can just go on radar indication. We'll go on actual tornado because...
Yeah, we're trying to go on air right now, but if you're joining us, if you're anywhere from Tom Query Road, Orchard Park Circle, talking about really Harrisburg in general, Robinson Church Road, Stallings Road, you're right in line for this. This is a radar-indicated tornado. We can say that directly here. Stand by.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in. We got to pass along tornado warning. We've been tracking this online throughout the morning and now into the afternoon, and Chris Mulcahy joins me here as well. Chris, we've got a tornado possibly on the ground right now. It is crossing from Mecklenburg County into Cabarrus County. This tornado warning does include the city of Harrisburg, West Concord, eventually all those areas just east of the Speedway. You can see on the radar what we're tracking right here is the rotation. So, Chris, let's go ahead of this because this is a really strong rotation. I am not going to be shocked if this is actually on the ground. We got a radar-confirmed tornado, but looking at the debris signature, we might have a tornado on the ground. So, again, tornado warning is now in effect for most of Cabarrus County, as well as a very tiny section of northeast Mecklenburg, but it's really going into Cabarrus County, Chris.
Yeah, so anyone from Harrisburg, I would say really eastern Harrisburg is where this was shifting. It was just passing Tom Query Road. We saw the tightening that this is confirmed on radar. Looking at some of the estimations right here as far as the wind speeds go, this would be confirmed an EF0 tornado if this was indeed on the ground. So likely probably had a lower end of the wall cloud. This is a quick spin-up tornado. So anyone watching from Harrisburg, crossing 49, areas such as crossing onto Harrisburg Veterans Road. That's where we're seeing this. So this is actively crossing 49, I would say, right now. So get into your safe space. Go into the interior part of your home because radar is indicating that we could have a tornado on the ground or at least an extreme lowering along with this system. And this just popped really quickly. We're also seeing positive lightning strikes associated with this, but look at the tightening that we see right there, and that was just a minute ago. So, yeah, if you're watching from south of Harrisburg, east of Harrisburg, get in your safe place right now.
Yeah, in Harrisburg, please, if you guys are watching this online, on air, on social, I need you to amplify this message. It's the middle of the day. A lot of folks aren't paying attention to what's happening right now. Take your phone, text, call people in Cabarrus County. Tell them possible tornado on the ground. We've got a tornado warning. It's in Harrisburg right now on the east side of town, moving towards areas towards downtown Concord. So the areas we're talking about is basically near the Chick-fil-A on Harris Square, Publix supermarket on the east side of town, heading towards the Aldi. So this is going to travel up towards Rocky River Coffee Company, then going up towards the Riverwood Manor area. You know that area is as you go up 49. So think of this as tracking basically from Harrisburg on 49, heading to the northeast. So it's going to be heading towards Frank Lyle Park and eventually Central Cabarrus High School area as it moves in that general direction. This is just east of the Speedway, by the way. So it's just east of Charlotte Motor Speedway, but it's tracking pretty much right up 49, Chris, looking at the radar. So if you know anybody in those areas, I just called out a bunch of areas on the east side of Harrisburg to Concord. Call, text, do whatever you can. Church members, family members, co-workers, tell them, get in the middle of your house, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We want to protect you. This thing is hauling. What's the speed, 45?
For 35 to 45 miles per hour.
Okay, so it's moving real quickly. You're not going to see this, folks. This is going to be one of those rain-wrapped tornadoes. It is really tight circulation. Every time, Chris, we see the update on the radar, I actually see the intensity of the winds go up a little bit as this moves to the north and east. We had a bunch of reports of power outages in that area. That was our first clear indication.
Yeah.
We saw the radar and then boom, we're getting power outages, so we knew something was happening in that area. I was chatting back and forth with Cabarrus County Emergency Management on our NWS chat, and they're active right now, keeping an eye out for damage. Have not heard of any yet, but the fact that the power outages came in quickly meant something probably briefly touched it.
Yeah, it lined up here. So far as Mill, haven't mentioned on the map before. We also have Stowe Road. You would be next in line for this rotation, and it's moving fast. And we're looking at something that's called gate-to-gate shear. So that is from one side of what we're picking up on the radar to the other. And you're seeing that yellow dot that is just here south of 49. Just around the Harrisburg area, and there's a positive lightning strike that represents that this is strengthening, and that green versus the red, I would say that this is estimated to be, if this is a tornado on the ground, which is a pretty good bet, that this would be an EF0 or EF1, where maybe winds could be over 85 miles per hour. And the most recent loop, you can see better, tighter rotation right here. So let's zoom in. Mulberry Road. That looks to be the heart of the rotation that we're seeing here. So anyone north of Mulberry Road, speed rail just north of 49, get in your safe place. Far Mill, Temple Drive, Stowe Road, Most recent update here as far as the winds go, 56 miles per hour gate-to-gate shear. So, yeah, we're looking at about an EF1 strength if this was indeed. And we were seeing earlier that there was a tightening of rotation, and it happened very quickly. Then there were reports of power outages. So even though we can't confirm it directly being on the ground, this is definitely radar indicated and a pretty good bet that there is a tornado, or there was.
Yeah, Chris, so we got a picture tweeted at me from over by the Speedway. I want to show you that real quickly because you actually see a lowering there. That looks like maybe a wall cloud, Chris. We were looking at the lowering earlier. Now, we can't see all the way to the ground, so we don't know what's below that, but that's a great picture of what is potentially a wall cloud from the truck crew over there. This was looking over the Speedway towards Harrisburg at the time the tornado warning was issued. So also got a report from another spotter up in the university area, felt rotation in the area. In the downstairs closet right now, when the warning came out, the trees were whipping around different directions. So somebody else in the university area clearly indicating that they did see or felt a rotation move through. So Chris is doing a really
very
good job.
Strong rotation here. Rocky River Road. If you live south of the old Charlotte Road, Rocky River Road, likely a tornado or a wall cloud that's rotating is heading right towards your direction. We're seeing the bright greens here, so this is showing that this is only getting stronger, looking at 56 to 63. Solid gate-to-gate shear, so this looks like a strengthening rotation. If this is indeed getting on the ground, it is getting stronger.
Yeah, that rotation is moving up basically 29, 49, heading towards areas in Cabarrus County. So we mentioned earlier, if you're in the areas towards West Cabarrus High School, on the east side of town, heading towards downtown Concord eventually, the west side, I would say all of Concord, you need to be ready for this to head your way. It's basically going up 29, in between 29 and 49, heading right towards downtown Concord. So anyone in the path of that area, if you live between 29 and 49 or along those two highways, you need to be in your safe spot. If you aren't and you know somebody that is, please use your phone right now, call, text them, amplify this message, because trust me, I have seen so many times where that phone call, that text message from somebody they know is going to do a lot more good than me and Chris here on TV, because they're going to say, hey, I just heard this from these guys. Get to your basement or your lowest level of your home right now. That is the best advice I can give you. It's the middle of the day. Not a lot of TVs on, Chris. So you got to do this other ways. Let's get it out there and amplify this message.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations, if you just look at the rain, it was likely just some heavy rain that moved through. So this is absolutely rain-wrapped. If this is a tornado, you're not going to be able to see it. That means it's going to sneak up on you really closely. So that'll be around Roberta Mill that's popping up here on the map, either side of 49. But, Brad, we are looking at the most recent cycle. I think it is recycling. So there could be a chance that before, if I go back a couple of minutes, it was right there. That's where you're seeing, but now you might have seen it start to come back up, so we could have a rotating wall cloud that's really tough to see. But this is right along Rocky River Road, 49, Old Charlotte Road. Up next is going to be Glenwood Drive Southwest. We also have Zion Church Road. And we are, what was the most recent update?
Got some video from Rocky River Road.
All right, here's Rocky River Road video.
So this is about the time the storm was starting to really ramp up. You can see the wind coming down pretty good there. Hard to tell from these pictures. You see the rain curtains wrapping around like that. You don't know what side of the circulation you're on. They could be feeding towards it, but there's certainly some waves of wind in there. So the areas that we're concerned about, and Chris started labeling them off here, it's going to be areas in the east side of Concord. So areas basically along 49. And just looking at the radar, it looks like it's moving up 49.
Yeah, it's following it exactly.
So it's basically moving 49. And in fact, you know, this is, it might actually go a little bit outside the polygon. But I would think like areas around Cold Springs, excuse me, and even Mount Pleasant, as you get further east in Oak Cliffs area, you're going to have to be on guard for this as well. Just looking at where the rotation is, to me, it looks like it's right on 49, Chris. It might go a little bit north of 49, but you're talking the east side of Concord, Union Street, Spring Street, Southwest. Those areas on the southeast and east side of town are most susceptible to this storm as it's moving at 35 to 40 miles per hour. I've been looking at some of the pictures we've been seeing in the videos. I can't see anything definitive, but I certainly see something that reminds me of, at least looks like a wall cloud, Chris.
Yeah.
So I've had 2 or 3 pictures sent to me that look like wall clouds. I'm looking at some video now coming in from the Poplar Tent Road in Concord. I don't see any broad rotation in there. It just looks like a lot of lowering, but it looks like a wall cloud. And that's like the second or third report I've seen of a wall cloud.
Yeah, so I would say the worst happened probably about 5 minutes ago, but notice how you see the bright colorations. It starts south of Harrisburg, and it is absolutely just following 4929 here. So Central Heights Drive, Central Cabarrus Drive, Zion Church Road, I think you're going to be impacted next. And it looks to be a little bit more on the southern side of 2949 here. Next stop probably in the next 10 minutes, though. Anyone on 601 at 49 should probably keep watch. And then just the West Concord area is just south of you for the time being.
Okay, I'm going to pass along some reports I'm getting from some of the emergency managers in the area. Getting multiple reports of trees and power lines down in that part of Cabarrus County. So that kind of matches up with where we saw the rotation. Also, where we first initially got the reports of power outages. Chris and I were watching this for, well, it seems like an hour and a half or so before the midday show came on, and we were streaming, and right away we got, like, this is things spinning up to a tornado, and then we got the power outage reports, which is all we need for confirmation sometimes. As we start seeing reports of damage coming in, we know something's happening. The incident they're responding to looks to be Burnt Amber Drive. I'm not familiar where that is. I'm going to look that up real quick.
Well, and real quickly, too, so Central Cabarrus Drive, if you live off of there, just before Zion Church Road, we're seeing different circulation here. Now, purple usually means that it isn't an absolute read here, but you can see where the central rotation is. So it's still gliding right along 49. So anywhere, let's just keep this here in this tornado warning. It goes until 2:15. If you live along 49, eventually I think it's going to be crossing closer to 601 here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. That we're not saying that this is done, but the worse the rotation was a little bit ago.
What's that wind look like up there? Because West Concord area right there,
60 miles per hour.
So that area, the report of that damage I just got was actually from Mecklenburg County. So that was near the Reedy Creek area. Remember, that's right where it tracked over the Reedy Creek Park area. So that was our first damage reports came in. So we might have, like we were talking about, Chris, it might have touched down before the radar was actually indicating that rotation. But look at that strong rotation. That is right near downtown Concord. So anyone in downtown Concord, you need to be seeking shelter right now. Lowest level of your home or building. A lot of folks are probably at work or school. Get to that interior room. Get away from the outside walls and windows. Because what's happening, this wind is going to pick up debris, especially in an urban setting or a downtown setting. Glass, things, trash cans, parts of trees, they become missiles. They become flying debris. So you see that moving into Concord right now, Chris.
It's right south of Concord. You're looking at winds at least, I think, it's 60 miles per hour.
Yeah,
60 miles per hour on the dot.
Street Southwest. I mean, those winds are causing damage. So Concord, people, please, if you're in Concord or you know somebody in Concord, you need to be in that shelter location. Get away from the windows at the very least. I know you may not have a closet that you can go to every location you're at. You just got to get towards the middle of your structure and the lowest floor to protect yourself. Those windows are dangerous. As soon as they break, you might as well be outside, and you're susceptible to all that flying glass coming in at 60, 70 miles an hour. Some of the pictures we've been getting, the video, not definitive of a tornado, but a lot of wall clouds. So we've got rotation showing up on these images. And this is another picture that was tweeted at me. I believe this is from the Poplar Tent Road area. So this was, if you look off to the right, I think they thought that was tornado, but I look in the left, that lowering, that looks like a wall cloud.
It does.
To the left. So I was more impressed with the wall cloud looking off to the left. Just looking at some of the, this is another picture. I just got another picture of a wall cloud from the Concord Mills, Bexley Village apartments across the street.
Yeah, so this likely that you're looking at, so that bright yellow shading cell.
New tornado warning just issued?
Yeah, new tornado. Let's go to it.
So they reissued this one?
Yeah, so they're just fixing this one. And I think the main reason why is the rotation that we were looking at before along 4929, I think that's gone. Now you're looking at a new vortice that's come down here.
It's cycled.
And that can happen, that one can skip to the other, where there can often be multiple vortices along the line. And this is the most recent one. A better update actually has this east of Concord.
Yep.
So Coldwater now crossing 73. That's going to be next in line. Meadow Oaks Drive. I would get in your safe place, because regardless regardless, you're going to have some very strong winds, still holding strong to that 60-mile-per-hour range associated with that. So instead of what we were seeing just south of 49 is now about to cross 73. So that's the most recent rotation that we have here. Again, tornado warning goes until 2:15.
Just a report from one of my fellow students and volunteer firefighter Matt Tovine over there in the Harrisburg area. We've got reports of a tree on a house in Harrisburg. So that's right where that circulation went in. So we're getting more damage reports in the Harrisburg area. Started like the Reedy Creek area and then moved from Mecklenburg County into parts of Cabarrus County. So we're not only getting power lines, trees, and now trees on home possible in the Harrisburg area. Another video just sent to me, looks like another wall cloud from the Harrisburg Road area, Rocky River Road, excuse me, in the Harrisburg area near Hickory Ridge High School. So it definitely looks like we had something going through there, Chris.
Yeah, and where you're all seeing here, and here we'll follow along just from Harrisburg. You had that rotation that was south of Harrisburg, and then you had it pop up just along 49, and now the new one, you could see a little bit of recirculation past West Concord, and then it's now east of Concord.
So we got a new tornado warning just east of you, though, in Albemarle area. That one is for northern Stanley County. That tornado warning, I believe, is up until, let me see what the time of this one. This is up until 2:45. So this is going to include northern Stanley County. This is around the Albemarle area. So in those areas, I would need you to seek shelter immediately as well. This is now northern Stanley County
around Lambert
with a tornado warning as well. And this is another little kink in that line, Chris, that has produced our second tornado warning of the day. So just east of the Finger area, west of Albemarle, this is heading towards New London, Richfield, Meisenheimer. Eventually, as it goes up, gets close to southeastern Rowan County. Rowan County, you're technically not in there, but look at the way that polygon's drawn. That wedge should not be out of there. That's a jurisdictional thing. GSP will probably add that to the warning as well. But that circulation to me, Chris, is east of Finger. It's right near Millingport in the Plier area. It looks like to me it's on 73.
Right there. Yep.
Right on 73.
It's about to cross, so Millingport Road, Esther Road. I think you're going to be right in line with this. So especially Millingport Road, that's where that rotation is about to track. So now we have two areas of rotation that likely you're seeing wall clouds or at least a tornado on the ground, and then we're seeing damage that's associated with that. Also swing back over to around Cold Springs. That is that first tornado warning that first put us on air. That first tornado warning still goes active until about 2:15. We're still seeing that actively. And then the other one that you're just joining us is also a part of a severe thunderstorm warning. All those little kinks along the line that we're also seeing. This one officially extends until 2:45, and that will be out of our area, so I'm not going to stay with that one fully, but yeah, you're seeing pure signs of rotation, quick spin-ups along the line. So anyone within these tornado warnings, I would just get in a safe place, especially in the northern parts of Stanley County, north of Albemarle, where this is headed. We're seeing a really defined rotation here now just northwest of Plier. Let's bring up some of our wind speeds that we're estimating here. 83 miles per hour. This will be a little bit off because I'm still using the Charlotte velocity here, but that's still showing significant rotation and maybe an EF1 possibly on the ground.
Yeah, so here's some of the reports coming in. We've got more pictures and video. Trees and power lines down, Rocky River Road area near 45. I'm looking at new pictures just coming in my Twitter feed, but we've got some video that's been sent to me that looks like a rotating wall cloud. It's hard to tell, but I'm getting a lot of damage reports coming in from that area right now. We're starting to get a lot of trees and power lines down from Reedy Creek to Harrisburg to the Concord area. So, Chris, something went through there. There's clearly a damage path now, more so than just the radar. And again, the reports we're getting a lot of power outages in that area. So something took power out. If it's either strong winds or the trees coming down on the power lines. And I
can draw the line. It was pretty much right there and here. You can see that little animation, that brightness. So that's where it started, south of Harrisburg, well south of Harrisburg. It's a pretty long track that we had multiple damage reports. Not saying it was on the ground for the entirety of that, but I think things are starting to improve there. I think definitely the worst of the rotation is right now around Plyer and Stanley County right now for our second tornado warning. So this just shows that this line here is a classic QLCS that's going to be spinning things up.
Yeah, looking at that, that Plyer Millingport area. So Paul's Crossing, New London, Richfield, and I would say Meisenheimer and even areas of southeastern Rowan County probably more at risk than the eastern part there of Stanley County and Davidson County, but it's heading to the northeast about the same speed. What I think is happening is these are rotating back towards the center of the low, which is back towards our west. So you're probably going to see these pivot west more so. They're going to have a tendency to go west more than east. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sneaks into maybe even northeastern Cabarrus County. But Meisenheimer is an area that is, in the path of this storm, as well as areas of southeastern Rowan County. Yeah, that's a similar circulation.
You can see exactly what Brad is talking about. That's actually going to be making more of kind of like that direction, or kind of up through here. So don't follow directly when in the tornado warning and ignore that. That's just because of a different office that took out that notch. So if you live east of Rockwell and eastern of Rowan County, I think anyone's in line right there. And let's go back over just north of Concord.
Run over the key wall, guys.
Absolutely. All right, and thanks for joining us. We started off with just following online of some rotation that was around Concord. Things have improved here. I'm not seeing the same.
Not as much in that
Not as
area.
much, but this here.
This is the Stanley County rotation. So we still got broad rotation in here that is tightened up in the last couple of frames. This was the new warning, which is technically for northern Stanley County. It should include southeastern Rowan County. So if you're in southeastern Rowan County and even that northeastern section of Cabarrus County, I want you to go ahead and treat this like a tornado warning. This is moving to the northeast at around 40 miles per hour. Again, we're getting reports of power outages in this area as well. So Meisenheimer's right here. There's New London, Richfield's in that area as well. This is actually the southeast corner of Rowan County. This is northeastern Cabarrus County. So what's happening, and Chris was talking about this, remember the low, there's a big low. These are rotating around. So what's happening, these are tending to pivot back this direction, so the rotation will actually come back this way. It's not moving this direction because it's like an arm or spoke on a wheel that's rotating around, so it's tending to go back in this direction. So that's why I want you to be on the guard here. Northeast, this is the northeast corner. See this little pie piece kind of like here? That's northeastern Cabarrus County. That little section is Rowan County. That's northern Stanley County. So look at this. It's moving actually back this direction. We call that back building a little bit, back this way. So while you may not have your phone may not have gone off here in Rowan County, you need to go ahead and treat this like you're under this tornado warning. So, Chris, that right there looked really strong, but then it does look like maybe it's weakening a little bit, which is good news.
Which is great news. But this followed the exact same setup. And, Brad, I'm going to bring you back to what we just saw.
Yeah.
Notice what this one just did. You saw that yellow shading.
Go all the way back to 40. Go down to here because the first reports of damage, believe it or not, are coming in from the other side of 485. Right here, Reedy Creek area, the park, these are some of the first reports of damage, even though there wasn't a warning out. Then it crossed 485. Right there is when we said, uh-oh, we've got a problem. And then we've got damage on 485, Rocky River Road area, then into Harrisburg. So something touched down in this area and then tracked off towards the northeast, towards Concord. So that circulation, thank goodness, has weakened. But as Chris mentioned, we've got this second circulation that formed in northern Stanley County. But good news here, this is kind of weakened as well. But it's getting pretty far from the radar. Even our terminal Doppler radar, it's not got a great view. It's also at a weird angle, so it might not be the best.
Yeah, and I'm trying to go through the different ones because sometimes you only have so many tools. This is from Raleigh. This is from Columbia.
Yeah.
That is from Greenville, Spartanburg, and then this is the Charlotte one that picked up on the rotation.
Yeah, so right in there we had roads. So there's New London. I mean, the good news here is we're going to treat this like a warning until 2:45, which is, boy, that's a long warning, to be honest with you. That's going for a while because it goes all the way up to here. But I'll be honest with you, I think this one is going to be out of that polygon here shortly and probably into the eastern part of Rowan County. So warning number one, we don't want to discount that, but just looking at the radar, Chris, in our recent reports, there's not much rotation.
No, yeah, and you can see where that ended.
Right,
It was right there. And
Old Springs area looked like it was there, and then it kind of fell apart. That was at 2 o'clock, so now, here we are at 2:10, 5 minutes away. They'll probably just let that one expire. So I know there's a tornado warning there, folks, but that's not a threat. This is our main threat right now, and even this one is showing signs that it might be weakening just a little bit. But this is one that definitely is a little bit more of a threat right now because it was spinning up fairly quickly here in New London. Like we saw with the first warning, these are probably touched down before the warning came out.
Yeah, and Brad, what we're really seeing too is usually when you have these type of setups, they only last for a couple of minutes. The other one lasted much longer.
Yeah, that was a long-lived road. That track because, you know, it's one thing when we say, hey, this is a radar-indicated tornado. We don't just have radar indication. We have damage reports that go from Reedy Creek to Harrisburg up to Concord. Yeah, so there's going to be a damage survey done here, Chris, tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, and how populated these areas are, too, is I also have the ability to show how many people are within the warning. So the first tornado warning had a population of 69,483 people around the Concord area. The one that is affecting here, and they've also dialed this back a little bit, so not completely all clear around Locust, but just southwest of Albemarle, things have improved there. But the amount of people affected in this warning, even though it has been shrunk down, looks to be an estimate. Hold on one sec. About 66,000. So still a lot of people affected in Albemarle, Big Lick, Rockingham, and Wadesboro. That could also be part of the, it's 23,567 of you that could be in line still for this. But we are looking at a better signature. You noticed that just a few minutes ago, right around Plier, that you had those brighter shadings. That's where we were seeing some wind readings up to about 83 miles per hour. It's spreading out again. And before we even started this, there was a broad rotation. It actually looked just like that. It was a broad rotation. Now that it's heading toward Meisenheimer, things are improving, though, but we're not going to discount this yet. And still, even though you're technically cut out of this warning, still eastern Rowan County, we're watching this. But I really like what's happening here for the first tornado warning. So if you're watching from New Gilead, Reimer, right here north of Cold Springs, we're not seeing the same rotation that we saw just minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm getting more damage reports coming in from areas around Farm Mill Road in the Harrisburg area. Seems like a lot of trees down and power lines in that area. So we'll see when these get churned around into LSRs. We call them local storm reports. Mm-hmm. But Chris, just based on the spotter reports we're getting and our social media feed, I something touched down near Reedy Creek, crossed 45, went to Harrisburg, and then made it almost to Concord before it lifted or stopped producing damage. But just looking at the pictures and damage reports, it definitely looks like we had something on the ground here, briefly there.
I'm going to go minute by minute here. So what this is going to do is allow us to kind of track it a little bit better to show exactly, because right now, thank you for staying with us. We're about to have one tornado warning that's about to expire, and rightfully so. That's the one that's affecting Cabarrus County. I think the worst of that already happened. That happened about 25, 30 minutes. Actually, you were mentioning pretty much before the tornado warning was issued that we were following here on WCNC.com and on Facebook. So we're 2 more minutes there, but we're still going to stay with you for the one around New London. But we're also not seeing the same rotation there as well.
Yeah, so
it's tightening a little bit more.
I've been going back and forth with the Weather Service on whether they're going to extend these warnings or not. They did extend it to Rowan County to fill that little wedge in there. So that's why you saw that new warning come out.
Okay.
So you know how we were saying that
they just right added,
there. Yeah. So that's just technically the same warning, but what they did, this is when you run into jurisdictional issues where you have, and I will go over the wall. I'll kind of explain what happened there, Chris. Go to the warning in Stanley County, and we'll show you what happened. So Stanley County and then Davidson County comes out of Rowan, or it comes out of Raleigh. Rowan comes out of GSP. So what they did is they added, so you see the new warning was added just for this corner. So basically they could fill this in. So tornadoes don't stop at county lines. It's just the jurisdictions, unfortunately. And that's why we told you to just go ahead and treat this like a tornado warning. So it's the same warning. They just had to do 2 different offices, had to coordinate together here. And so that's a tornado warning for Rowan County. But it's basically the same warning polygon. And the good news is, Chris, overall, I think that rotation is pretty much gone. Looking at the radar, we'll see if it spins back up. We saw that briefly in Cabarrus County, where one rotation wrapped around and included, a new one formed on the backside, but we don't see any more of that really forming. It just looks like strong winds. But this is a long warning. This is up until 2:45, which is basically 31 minutes from now. We'll see if it lasts that long, because just looking at the way it's going, I don't think That's good. Right there was the rotation. That's when it looks strong down in here.
About 206.
Yeah, then it moves north, and right there, briefly, New London. I'd seek your shelter. Stay in your shelter location. We're not giving you all clear yet, but I'll give you the good news is that we don't see the rotation spinning back up. This is really broad. It gets real messy here because the radar data is here. And remember the radar data. A lot of you folks are watching me on a stream right now. Streaming data is, it's streaming to your phone right now. It's like a 15, 20-second delay. Don't read into these numbers per, exactly to their time. You got to remember, by the time I'm reaching your ears, this is probably about 30 seconds behind. And same thing with the radar. The radar only scans once a minute. So the radar data is lagging about a minute behind what's happening in real time. So you always got to be ahead of this. Think about what's happening way ahead of this, because this has probably already happened, what you're looking at right here. So this data is lagging behind. Streaming data is even lagging even more. Most of us used to watch over the air. It was pretty much instantaneous, but streaming services, if you've ever done it, you know how there's a lag, especially if you're watching live sports. Same thing with tornado warnings. There's a little bit of a lag here when you're hearing my voice. So don't wait to the last minute. Seek shelter 5-6 minutes before you see that town on our drop-down menu for when the storm track is heading your way. So this is moving into Rowan and eventually Davidson County, but I have a sneaky suspicion, Chris, they're going to let this one either expire or they're just going to dump out of it.
And that other tornado warning that first started us on air with you, that is now gone from Cabarrus County. So that was set to expire at 2:15, and it did. Not all clear yet, but very close to Stanley County. You're seeing it right on the Stanley County, Rowan County line, running around New London Road to Reeves Road. It's not the same. It was about the 205 to 207 range. I think that we had the best rotation there. So just after 2 o'clock. So I would really see, as far as the track goes, affecting certain areas. We could see Newsom by 226, Pooltown at 230, High Rock at 231, and Jackson Hill at 232. And this likely the rotation we're talking about, even though the tornado warning goes until 2:45, then we're outside of our viewing area at that point. But Brad's interesting enough, looking at some of the rotation tracks and how it correlates to the damage is pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I'm going to post this out, but I was just pulling up what we call rotational tracks. And Chris, looking at from Pineville to Hickory Grove to the Harrisburg area to Concord, there was a rotational track, but the strongest rotation, Reedy Creek area, Harrisburg area.
Right before the tornado
So
warning.
right where we had the damage reports. So
here, and I'm going to actually show you that. We're going to stay with you. We're not diverting from Rowan County. It's just right now it is not a threat because of the broad rotation. Still could have some gusty winds, but even the winds look like they have come down. But it's right here that Brad was talking about. So that was about 144. I would say probably after 140 because we have a little lag in our data here. Harrisburg to 146, looks like 151. So it's solid 15 minutes that we saw a damaged track push through Harrisburg, multiple trees down. A lot of people lost power in this area as well. Let me see if I can pull it up with how many are out of power from Duke.
Yeah, that was definitely some type of, I mean, it's hard to always say if it's exactly a tornado, but just looking at the rotational track, I definitely say it's tornado.
Yeah,
so I'm getting some damage reports now coming in.
And Brad, it looks like just scattered across the Charlotte area, we have 7,000 for right in that area. Part of Union County has 1,000 around Wadesboro. They're out tower. They're sprinkled really all over the place.
It's real quick.
So yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead, guys. If you're in Cabarrus County, I can give you the all clear. That warning has been allowed to expire. The area that we're watching now is right here in northern parts of Stanley County, as well as parts of Davidson and that northeast corner of Rowan County. But that circulation, honestly, is already into Davidson County, and we're probably going to be able to give you the all clear here shortly. It does look like the rotation's trying to spin back up.
But likely will happen closer to Jackson.
Yeah, so it's north of Baden Lake area, east of New London. This is going to move into Davidson County, and we will go off air here in a second once it moves into those areas, and the coverage will be picked up there by WFMY, our affiliate up there, because that is their market. But we will probably stay on streaming here for a while until this line gets completely out of here. But that tornado warning is probably going to be whittled down. What I mean by that is they'll start removing counties where the threat is passed, which is going to be Stanley and Rowan County here shortly. But technically, 245, boy, I'm looking at these damage. My Twitter feed is full of damage reports right now, Chris.
Wow, there's a lot of them.
We've got a lot of trees. It looks like I'm seeing shingles. Yeah, this is areas. I'm trying to see where this is at.
What is that, a pop-up tent, it looks like? Or
it looks like some kind of, I don't know, that looks like something in their backyard. A lot of trees down.
Yeah, and
just trees everywhere. Just definitely something went through there. And I'm really talking about areas between Reedy Creek and Harrisburg. Rocky River Road, Far Mill Road, those areas of Cabarrus County seem to be the area that was hit the hardest.
Yeah, and it's east of Gold Hill. It's still very broad.
Yeah.
And now we're also starting to hit the part that all of our radars are kind of far enough apart. But here's some of the damage that we saw from the first tornado warning that was around the Harrisburg area. You can see the downed trees there. All this correlates. It all started really just southwest of Harrisburg, intensified as it crossed 485. You're seeing some damage to some lawn chairs there. Multiple trees down. Thousands without power. Just in that one area alone, we were seeing about 7,000 without power alone. And I'm going to backtrack and just really show you that. Still not all clear. If I can give some locations here in the Rowan County area, still Reeves Island Road, Richfield Road, that could be covered. It's not confirmed. It's not as, I think, as threatening as what we saw before, but that's really the last of that tornado warning. That's the part that got added that's going to keep us here on television. But again, as Brad said, we are going to continue to be online until this is all clear from this line.
Yeah, Cabarrus County, you're done. Rowan County, I could give you the all clear there. This is really northeastern Stanley County, near the areas just south of 49 as you go into Davidson County. So Pine Haven is where the rotation is now. It's heading north towards Jackson Hill, Complex, Handy, up towards Denton, which is in Davidson County. So those are the areas. So if you can pick us up there, you're watching our stream, you obviously know those areas as well. This is crossing the Stanley County line. It's moving into Davidson County. So Rowan County, it looks like you're in the clear. I would give Stanley County, you're in the clear now because this, again, the radar data is about a minute behind, so it's going to be lagging. The rotation has clearly moved into Davidson County, so that's where the warning is up until 2:45.
Yeah, and just in the meantime, we still also do have a severe thunderstorm warning, so it's going to be the final push. So this could be a repeat for you around Rockingham. So it's going to be right here near Ellerby as well. We're seeing a few kinks along the line. That severe thunderstorm warning officially goes until 2:45. Same thing goes. Wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. See if we can see anything along that line. But yeah, as far as the tornado warning goes, I think, Brad, we might be able to say that we are good for our viewing area, even though it's still technically there.
Yeah, the emergency manager over in Cabarrus County, Ian Crane, is reporting they have a large power outage in downtown Concord. So there's no power anywhere in downtown Concord as that moved through that area. Also, getting some delayed damage reports coming out of Union County, South Carolina, of some damage when those storms first moved through there. So just looking at the damage reports and path, that's the way we kind of confirm these things. There's two ways. You know, we're looking at the radar, but I'll be honest with you, the radar is only one tool. Human beings are spotters. We have a huge group of spotters, WCNC Weather spotters, that can give us ground truth to what's happening. And when we can couple the radar data with eyeballs on the ground, that's the confirmation we need. And we had that today while we were streaming. Two things happened. One, the radar looked very significant. We saw the rotation spinning up, and then immediately Chris Campbell, our director, in my ear tells me he lives up in that area, and he's got friends and family there telling us there's power outages up there. Mm-hmm. That to me reminds me so much of a storm that happened in that same area back in 2012, middle of the night. Seeing this storm, I think something's going on. People are tweeting me in the middle of the night. Power's out, cable's out. That's usually a sign some damage is occurring, and that's what we saw today.
Often, sometimes it can have a tail, too, that the funnel cloud can drag down, and that easily rips up those power lines. Yeah. So I think that's what we had initially. Took out some power lines, dropped down, took out some trees, and then you're seeing all the damage that's really concentrated on one. The area that we're now looking at right now on your screen for this tornado warning, we're not really seeing as many damage reports there because it's not as populated. So we might see those a little bit later on. Still, I think that it was right around the Plier area that probably had the best chance for that. And looks like we have another look here.
So this was a time lapse sent to me from this area, looking as that tornado warned storm passed. So a couple things you'll look for. Ooh. So the thing I'm noticing, that whole cloud was rotating.
Yep.
Now, you didn't see anything go to connect to the ground, but there was definitely what we call mesocyclone, which means the updraft was rotating in that storm. So every time you see one of those, you're always worried you've got the potential for a tornado. And then here comes the heavy rain coming right at the camera.
Wow.
So real impressive. Right, I'll show you the part that caught my eye, and this is at the leading edge where we saw that rotation right there. Look in the middle. You see that whole thing rotating? And then it went off screen. We don't know. It probably produced a wall cloud at some point. But that's the rotation we'll typically pick up on the radar. The radar only can see so much. Remember, the radar beam goes higher and higher in the sky the farther away from the radar. Everyone has radar on their phone, and I think it's just they think it's uniform coverage. No, remember, the radar is only good within a certain distance of the radar site. It's like a cell phone. The closer you are to the tower, the better your coverage. You get far away from the radar, you're looking higher into the sky because the Earth is curved. So oftentimes we're seeing what's happening in the middle levels, not at the ground. That's where the spotters are a huge asset to us.
And I do want to say one thing. It does look like the rotation for this tornado-warned storm that was in Stanley County. I think that we can give the all clear for Stanley County as well.
Yeah.
This is now pushed off just outside of our WCNC viewing area. So, Brad, should we return to programming and then we can continue straight online?
Before we go, guys, I do want to do two things. I know because Chris just got my ear and talked about this as well, our director. We can give the all clear for Cabarrus County from this tornado warning, Rowan County, and Stanley County. So I know a lot of schools withheld their students, kept them in place, did the smart thing. Don't leave in the middle of this. Stay put. You're safer there. You now can leave. This storm is exiting quickly to the northeast. So we can give the all clear to Rowan County. And again, this is all clear from severe, not from rain. We still got rain for Rowan, Cabarrus, and Stanley County. Still severe thunderstorm warnings, though, for Anson and a part of Richmond County there. We're not going to give you the all clear there. But for the counties west of there, all clear in Cabarrus and Rowan County. Of course, we're going to continue our coverage online. We'll have a complete wrap-up coming up at 4, 5, and 6 here on WCNC, but we're going to return to your programming already in progress. If you want to watch more coverage, tune into our app or WCNC.com.
All right, we are clear on the television, but you have stayed with us online. If you stayed with us the whole time, that was quite the development because we saw a tight rotation southwest of Harrisburg, started to hear the power go out.
Yeah.
We started to hear damage reports, and then the tornado warning popped up. That's how important it is for us to be watching the storm beforehand. And just letting you know, we're always going to be doing that here on WCNC, tracking the storm as it goes. Because sometimes when the tornado warning happens, the worst of it might have already happened. And we saw that happen live time. So let's go back to the main event. And I have this minute by minute just showing you exactly what just happened here. So we had our velocity scope here. This is from Charlotte. And this is what we had earlier in the day. So it was just southwest of Harrisburg. And Brad, where was most of the damage?
So the first damage reports we got were from the Reedy Creek area, which is in northeast Mecklenburg County. So go back
Great Park.
on the other side. So you're talking right in here.
Yeah, so right there.
Right in here is where we first started getting our first reports.
Yeah, and it jumps because I remember that we were saying, I was like, hey, we haven't had an update here. So it was right during that time frame. So let's bring it up by minute for you. And we'll continue updating on the other storm in a sec. Just really want to show you. This is also a pretty cool case study to show what happens. All right, so that time right there is about so it was about, let me see, from 1:35 to 1:40, we didn't have an update. So it was right when that happens, it moved through. And that's also, we might have had a lapse in our data because it might have not been rolling at that point or updating. But then you saw it right south of Tom Query Road, still pretty substantial there. You see that yellow and that green just south of Harrisburg. That's about 1:45. And then right around Farrs Mill, that's at 1:49. And then you saw it kind of crumble, and then you had some wind damage around Concord, close to about 150 to 155. And it was all during that time frame, so let's call it about 135 to 155 that knocked out the power for most of the area. I'm right now, as the most recent update from Duke Energy, showing about 8,000 people without power in that area. So that number keeps on going up as more and more are starting to report that. And first heard the reports that people were out of power at around 1:40 or so.
Yeah, right when it was kind of just northeast of, getting close to 45, basically. It's about the time, right about in there.
Right there, yeah.
We noticed the data dropped out because remember I said there was a 5-minute delay. I'm like, why is the radar not updating? So something happened to the radar data there. It would have been nice to see because 1-minute data would have probably showed the evolution of that. But the fact that it popped up that quickly, it went like that.
Yeah, and it was just around Tom Query Road.
Yeah.
That's where you have that, because before it was so wide, and you see that right there. How big it is, and it was really our first direction that we started watching this. It was the back side, it was the rear flank downdraft that was coming in here. So that's where you saw the strengthening, and then there was a little bit more of a twist coming in here, and you could also see a little bit of a notch on the radar as well. And then we kind of went blind. So that's where we were physically saying here behind the scenes, or actually it's on tape, we were saying it was all rolling, that, hey, we're going to go live for the tornado warning, and then it's like right after that this did come down. But then you can see right after there that it got pretty substantial. So there's a path of damage that if you trace it all the way through that, I think it's about almost 11 miles worth. Let's see if I can bring up the damage from here. So it's about northwest of Harris, about 10 miles or so that you had that. And then again, that's where we're seeing most of our power outages, including Concord. And I think there was a new circulation that bubbled up right near Concord. And you can see this here, because sometimes you can have another vortice come, the one dies out. That point was showing 60-mile-per-hour winds, and whenever we have a severe thunderstorm warning, it's for wind gusts at 58 miles per hour or greater, and that's really concentrated along here. So good chance that we had an embedded rain wrap tornado, one of the most dangerous ones that's really tough to see anything that's along that line. And on top of that, you're seeing rain rates that were over 2 inches per hour. So this was quite the evolution. Let's go back over to the west. We still do have a chance that this severe thunderstorm warning right here could produce something here in Richmond County. Let's bring up Columbia. This is a tough spot to really see any of the wind speeds that we have here. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning that is building off of that one cell that we did have that tornado warning for. So even though we're still under a tornado warning for that part of Rowan County that was added because it was a different office, that is really not a non-threat right now because we're not seeing the rotation there. It's closer to Jackson Hill that's just outside of our viewing area. If you're watching from there, that's where we still have a chance. You can actually see it right near Denton, Brad.
Yeah, it's rotating up again.
Yeah, so we left television because it wasn't in our WCNC viewing area, but right near Denton, here, let me go back a couple of minutes. Right there, we were saying that it was pretty broad. These oftentimes go through a recycling process, and that's exactly what's happening here. So all clear from Rowan County. As you can see, this is the border of Rowan County. I'll trace it right here, right there, and there. Anything there? I think you're good. So it's just northeast, so north of between Jackson Hill and Denton. We could have at least, I think, a rotating wall cloud that we had before. And then still severe thunderstorm warnings. Look at how this branched out. So now this is kind of picking up into more of a straight line wind event. That is huge. So 2 severe thunderstorm warnings have now been expanded just outside of our viewing area again until 3:15 for more Richmond and Scotland County. So the other part, the eastern side of Richmond County, you're now under that severe thunderstorm warning. And then we also have one for Davidson, Montgomery, and Randolph County. Right now the tag here is along the line that it's moving northeast at about 40 miles per hour. The main threat will be wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Of course, I think you would have the tornado tag that's associated with this because you could have some kinks along the line. So very powerful storm system. And the reason why it really started to flourish once you got into the northeastern side of the 45 loop, it was more unstable there. We saw most of the rain that was off towards the west. Even when I was doing traffic this morning, we did have some wet roads around the Charlotte area. But then once it got into just enough favorable environment that was a little bit drier, a little bit warmer, that's where I think it started to spin up from just around Reedy Creek Park area up into Cabarrus County. Some pretty substantial winds. So I guarantee dozens of wind reports, and Brad has already had it on WX Brad on Twitter. A lot of damage from that one tight circulation, which is likely a tornado.
Yeah, and Chris, it's not often that you see the radar spin up that quickly, and then you get instant confirmation from people. So It was great. I'm glad we got some great response from people saying thank you for streaming because we didn't get the warning, but we were watching the stream. And, you know, you probably saved some lives today. We hope that was the case because that's the whole goal is to try to get ahead of these things. And I'll be honest with you, as a meteorologist and even for the Weather Service, these are tough. We know, you and I talked about this a lot today. Probably by the time the warning came out, the thing already touched down. And that's why a day like today is a day where, you know, we always say be weather aware because this is not a normal day. When you get a situation like this and the atmosphere is set up perfectly, you can get tornadoes to spin up quickly. The problem is it happens at such a fast pace. The radar can only scan at 1 rotation per minute. That tornado can happen between that minute scan. And so you just got to be ready that there could be a tornado within those storms. And that's what we are trying to do today. We even lost data for about like 4 or 5 minutes, but we were still watching that same cell. But when you know the confirmation was, Chris, and this is always blows my mind, eyeballs on the ground.
Yeah.
The power report was the first red flag to me, like, uh-oh.
This is rotating. Power was out. And
couple those together, those two pieces of information equal, we've got issues.
And it's the last 2 tornado warnings we had. One was our Dallas camera that showed confirmation of the rotating wall cloud. This time it was you. So just testament, if you were following us all the way through, continue to give us reports, because not only are you giving reports to us, we will be able to pass those on to the National Weather Service, because tomorrow they're going to have a busy day. They have a lot of damage, because now they're going to be seeing the degree of damage, the DODs that are associated with this, to see if it was an EF0, EF1. But the way that the damage is looking, and already some of the estimations on radar, I would not be surprised if this was at least an EF1.
Yeah, I was going to say I've seen a lot of EF1 damage. The reason I say EF1, I have not seen a lot of major structural damage, mainly trees, power lines, some roof elements, but not like major damage to structure. So that's usually EF0, EF1. And it might have been just the speed of the storm could not let this tornado really get its act together on the ground. But the fact that we have a clear damage path on radar, Chris, and we have damage reports coupled with that, I'm sure the Weather Service will be up here. But here's the thing, the Weather Service might not have to come up if the emergency managers, which are great, by the way, in comparison, Mecklenburg County, those emergency managers are all over it. They can survey it for them. And really give them a good heads up, and they may not even have to come up because the surveys that those emergency managers can give them. Yeah,
and more reports are also coming down. That oftentimes the times won't line up, but this was emergency management. The first damage icon, that was at the Eastland Mall, and those are the power lines that were down, possible tornado. So it even says that right there in the verbiage, and I think that all lines up. This is not really a straight line wind event. You saw the rotation that was on there. Likely this is a rotating wall cloud. And I'm not sure if we can bring this up again. If anyone's listening, we have a really cool time lapse that shows you the rotation that we had moved through. No, we did not? Okay.
It was actually tweeted at me. I got to look and see who sent that to me, but it was a great time lapse because in the middle of it, I'm going to scroll back. I have so many tweets in here, Chris.
Yeah, it's very active. Yeah, so I've been talking while this man is also updating you on Twitter and everything that's going on.
I'm trying to keep everything. I'm trying to get all those reports come in, but
and keep it up, by the way, because some of you might have been away and you might come home and you're like, oh wow, what happened here? Keep on sending those reports, because also we are actively gathering here WCNC for our 4, 5, and 6 o'clock news. So we want to see your reports. We want to pass it on. But here it is. This is what we're talking about. So watch. You have the clouds moving in. It's right about there. You saw a little bit of center.
Look at it.
Right there.
Right before the rain hit.
Yeah. That's also the core of the storm. So that looks like classic rotating wall cloud, or at least it's starting to. It didn't really start to descend all that much, but that is really impressive. So that's what we saw. Man, you can just see this thing grow, and look at all that rain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and oftentimes it could be preceded by a heavy rain core, but this is also just wrapped in rain as well. So there you can see it again. There's that quick little rotation. So likely that was all associated with one another. No injury report, so hopefully we can keep it that, but certainly a substantial amount of damage, at least along a 10-mile path. Do this one more time. Let's check what's actively happening. We are looking at a lull in the activity.
But we're not done, Chris.
We're not done, because there's another line off towards the west. I'm just going to go to our sky cameras real quick. Let's see if yours is still working. All right, there's yours.
Ooh, we're getting some thinning.
This is not what we wanted, because now round 2 looks like it could be inevitable here. Here, I'm going to bring up our satellite imagery. So hopefully this is how you can become meteorologists, and everyone in the news station knows this. Whenever you see sunshine when we're talking about severe weather, that's not good.
Not a good thing.
No, we wanted to keep it cloudy. We want to keep that, but I'm going to get a better loop here, but I am seeing some pretty substantial thinning of the clouds.
Well, look at these little cells. There's actually discrete cells now forming ahead of that clearing back towards the southwest. So we're getting some pretty good clearing.
There's the clearing right there. You can see the darker.
Yeah, so it's widened out a little bit further so we could see that, Chris. So you see what's happening to our southwest. We're getting a line forming, and it's trying to develop and move into that sunshine. Remember what sunshine and humidity are. That's the gasoline, the fuel for thunderstorms. When you have that fuel in place, you can get big thunderstorms. Now, what's dangerous on a day like today, the rotation associated with this non-tropical low, we call that wind shear. So if you can couple the fuel, which will build a storm tall into the atmosphere, to tap into that rotation, you get thunderstorms that rotate. And that's always your biggest fear, the combination of wind shear and big thunderstorm fuel. That's why days like today and days anytime I think there's a lot of shear, I don't want to see the sunshine at all. I want it to be completely cloudy. The cooler, the more stable the atmosphere is, the better off we'll be.
So I'm talking to you, York County. It looks like you're the sunniest right now. I'm going to go to our Rock Hill camera to see what it looks like there. But our radar is showing that you're starting to thin out the clouds. Yeah, it's not super sunny, but it's definitely getting a little bit brighter. So I bet you that we are seeing your CAPE values go up. That is your convective available potential energy. It's pretty much thunderstorm fuel, as we simply put it. So it's going to be that line off towards the west. So yeah, we still do have a severe thunderstorm warning. The last of that is going to be exiting here in Richmond County, I would say over the next 15 minutes. But now it's these little cells, and if you go back just about, let me see, that's 2 o'clock, so 40 minutes now. That's where they're starting to ramp up. So I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to jump back into this storm fuel, that we could see another line starting to cross 321. It could start to strengthen here maybe over the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, and just looking at, I'm looking at what's called the mesoanalysis, Chris, and it's not updated as frequently as I like, but we're starting to see what we call STP values surge up ahead of this line. Now, they haven't made it all the way up into York County yet, but that's an indication. STP values, it's a parameter we look at where in the atmosphere, do we have fuel and shear lining up together? If we have CAPE or thunderstorm fuel and wind shear combined, we'll tend to see some of that develop. So this is a future cast of that. The contour is missing, but you can see the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. There's a little bit there. In a day like today, you don't need a lot of this STP value because of the tropical nature of these systems. Tropical systems, and I want to say it's a tropical system. It's not really a tropical system. It feels like it. It feels like a depression, tropical depression, or a remnant tropical storm. But you see those tracks, and you could see that next line coming in this evening,
so it's
especially to our south.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that kind of checks out. So I think the reason why it's picking that up is you have some solid tracks. Look at how much clearing you have down here. So there's a chance that this line, even though you're not seeing too much, because here, let me add the actual radar, you already, look at that, you see the first initial tail. So I can draw a couple of tails here to show you the two signs that we have. Let me take the arrowhead off. So you have that first initial line, that first outer band, and then you have this one right back here. So what's going to happen is that secondary one, I'll turn it off, this one right here, it could likely spin its way back up to the northeast, because look how this thing is rotating. It's a solid low pressure system. This is a classic pretty much remnant low that's moving through. That one's already firing up severe thunderstorm warnings. This secondary line is already showing. I don't like the way I drew this second line, but you're getting the point of, look at this long tail. Let me do a better job here. This right there. That tail right there, that is moving its way off towards the northeast. So we are starting to see some cells. That's going to move into Gaston County. So Gaston County, you're going to see a rain pickup. But following those tracks, South Carolina, more sunshine that you see by the late afternoon, you could start to see all this push on through. And look what the first line already did. And now that you're seeing that lull, I was hoping they were going to have more of that stratiform precipitation, that light to moderate rain behind this. But any clearing is showing that this is going to be a 1-2 punch. Meanwhile, if you're watching from the mountains and the foothills, you're seeing a tremendous amount of rain. How much rain have you already seen? So we can bring up our rainfall estimations. Well, first off, let me see. Estimated rainfall. Seen a lot of pulses. This picked up so far just from these. The cluster of rain first fell about an inch and a half in Chester County. little pulses that maybe saw about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch there, but you're starting to see a few more of these green dots here. So I think it's a little bit more of a moderate rain that's affecting you in the mountains. But this is also primer because we're expecting more rain, especially on and off the next couple of days. It's later in the week that I think the mountains and the foothills, you're going to have some more flood watches. This is an ongoing story that it's rain after rain after rain that's the biggest problem, especially when you have the upslope flow over the mountains that can have training thunderstorms. So maybe you're not as much of an issue right now, seeing pockets of some heavy rain. I'm still watching you for flooding over the next few days. Meanwhile, anyone over in the Charlotte area, see what's going to happen through the day. Rock Hill to Chester County, Lancaster, see how those storms are going to be developing along that line. So it might be a little bit before we really see it, but we are already seeing decent activity down here to the south.
Yeah, I'm pouring through all the damage reports, trying to backtrack to where this tornado touched down, and just looking at the first damage reports. I think I found the very first one, Chris.
Okay.
This was just south of Plaza, east of Plott Road, and the first report came in. Basically, I'm trying to look what road this is. This is Frank Greer Road.
Let's try to go to it.
That is just south of the Plaza and south of that Reedy Creek Park. That was Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management reports tree damage and damage in that area from possible tornado. That's in East Charlotte. That's basically, what is that, 4 miles east of 4 miles northeast of Eastland Mall.
Well, we were Eastland Mall had the power lines out, and we had said, I think the first road we said was Platt Road.
Yeah, that was one of the first roads we saw. So this is the area that's near Embassy East.
Plott Road, excuse me.
Holiday Park, Casa Linda Estates. So Reedy Creek Park is right there. So this is across the street from Reedy Creek Park. And you know what, Chris? I bet Reedy Creek Park, there's probably a damage path through there. Nobody lives there, but if you go into the park, I bet there's going to be some damage.
Yeah, and I've walked there a bunch of times with my dogs. A lot of trees, a lot of trails.
Yeah.
So you might not have seen it on the main drive in there where they have a bunch of picnic areas and the dog park. I think it would be a little bit further in because Reedy Park is actually quite substantial. If you've ever,
it's a big park.
Yeah, but you can see that yellow dot right there, and so there's Plott Road. So, and then the time right there is, hey, let me bring up our minute by minute, adjusting the clock. There we go.
So just looking, I'm
1:34.
So a lot of folks, like you said, are just getting home or like, was there a tornado? They're showing me damage. I'm like, yes, if you're in this area, there was a tornado. So the area I'm looking at is from Reedy Creek Park, and then basically it looks like Caldwell Road area, Black Creek Church Road, and then heading towards 485. Basically, right there where Tom Query Road and Caldwell Road come together, University City Boulevard brackets us to the north, Robinson Church Road, Rocky River Road. It seems like somewhere in that area, Rocky River Road, there was a lot of damage along there.
Yeah, so notice, let's go back to Tom Query Road.
Yeah.
Notice this is 144.
Yep, there it is.
That would be solid. So, and you notice that right there, so that was 143 passing Bedfordshire or Bedfordshire Avenue.
Yep.
Robinson Church Road as it crosses there.
And then it started to turn east a little bit. So this is where it affected Rocky River Road, which is just southeast of Harrisburg. So this is the southeast side of Harrisburg. And then Far Mill Road, we got a bunch of damage reports from Far Mill Road as well. So Shamrock Road there on the top. I mean, so what we're doing, guys, is we're matching up our damage reports with what the radar is showing. This is exactly what the Weather Service will do tomorrow. And yes, they are going to do a damage survey. I was looking at the chat with Trish Palmer down there. She said, yeah, she'll be up here tomorrow to do the survey, likely starting around the Reedy Creek area and going all the way to Barris County.
We have one damage report, so check out about lining this up. Watch. So this is 142.
There's the damage
There's the damage report right at Tom Query Road. So see that? Moving right through. So, yeah, from that 140, and it covered a decent amount of ground.
Yep.
So pretty much 485. Let's see how far that went. So this, we traveled about 2 miles in 5 minutes. So that thing was flying. So I would say the general push of the storm was anywhere from, it fluctuated between 35 and 45 miles per hour. But if it only took 5 minutes to go 2 miles, that thing was cruising. That was
so
moving really fast.
I'm trying to line up these damage reports now, and then Harrisburg, they're just filtering in, so the Weather Service is just starting to put these together, but we're probably going to see these additional reports come in. If you go to my Twitter and my Facebook page, what I did is I pulled up our 1 hour rotational tracks, and it's a clear path of rotation on the radar, which lines up with the first damage report. So, yeah, we got both of them on there now.
Yep.
You kind of see.
Yeah, and we can't see this first one if I go back in time, because that's what I think we had. Okay, so that one right there, when you went to Plaza Road, yeah, so that's where we kind of lost data.
Yeah.
So I bet you, though, that was 135, 130, yeah, so that was about 135. I bet you anything that we would have seen a tightening right past that road. Right from Plot Road. Yeah, right in there. And by the way, by the time Brad is doing this at 4 o'clock, there's going to be a lot more of these littered all through this area, because I think that the estimation for the warning was 66,000 people live in this area. So I think a lot of you are going to be kind of surprised, or maybe you took a nap and you slept through this and you're wondering what just happened.
Well, you know, we're going to have crews out in the area. Our KJ Jacobs is going to be out in our Chevy Storm Tracker, probably up in this area. We'll have crews checking out the damage, because it looks like that a couple of these stretches, Chris, there is extensive tree damage. I don't even know how you're going to get back there. Duke Power crews are out there having to work real hard to just clear the debris first before you can even get to the tree damage. And, you know, looking at the power outages, I'm seeing an update here frequently.
Let's see. Zooming out, showing around 6,000 in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even down the south, there's a few power outages. They're all scattered in the area, but there's a bullseye in the area that we're talking about, southwest of Harrisburg, 4,000.
So one of the things I'll do oftentimes, I'm going to look at our traffic reports to see where the traffic is backed up in this area, because usually you'll see where you have road issues is where you have trees on the road. So looking through these areas.
And by the way, that circle I just drew, it's that circle that has the 4,000 power outages. And what's the coincidence? You see our only 2 damage reports in that area.
Chris, check out the traffic I'm looking at Google Traffic, but west of 485 here, which is west of Atrium Health in Harrisburg and Harris Teeter, between Century Communities.
Here, can we bring up the traffic computer?
There's a lot of blockages, so there looks to be some kind of tree damage in that area.
So let me see. Just bear with me. It's a good way of doing it. And by the way, thank you so much for everyone joining us. We have been doing this now since pretty much just before 1 o'clock. Brad got in here when I was on the noon show, so you knew something was happening, but you saw a lot of kinks along the lines that this is a possibility, but it really flared up as it moved past Charlotte. So let me see.
You know, I'll be curious, like, what happened around Hickory Ridge High School area. It looks like there might have been something through there. I mean, looking at the track. So on Rocky River Road, basically between, it looks like Back Creek Church Road, there's a lot of damage there, and then a lot of tree damage right around areas on Brookwood Road. It's shut down completely there, Chris. I bet there's trees blocking the entire...
I'm bringing it up right now. Let's see. Always takes the longest when I'm trying to show you something.
Yeah, so this is just west of the interchange with 485. So this is an area where I think we've got that matches up with the pictures I'm seeing of the tree damage as well.
All right, let me see where we're going. Let me take off our road weather index so we can see a little bit better.
Yeah, just looking at the path. I mean, I think we're, like you said, Chris, I think we're going to hear more reports come in as people get home and start reporting how trees down, power lines. You're looking at our radar here. So there is a tornado warning out in the Sandhills. So this area basically is for Chatham, Lee, and Moore counties. So you're looking at areas near Seven Lakes, north of Whispering Springs, so just north of Southern Pines. But that's the same batch of storms that came through here with some severe weather. I'm just sending a note to our staff here about this heavy damage.
Yeah, right in here that Brad was talking about. Look at all this yellow, and this is right near Tom Query Road. If we can bring that up. So likely there's probably a lot of incidents here. So off of Tom Query Road, it's actually a pretty good throughway as well. Caldwell Road. turns over to Caldwell Road. That's where we saw one little bit. Let's see, Rocky River Road over here. Yeah. Harrisburg also, seeing also where this passed. It was right around here. Seeing some yellow here on 49, there's a possibility. Harrisburg Veterans Road, we also saw it pass there. So we're seeing a lot of yellow that you wouldn't necessarily see at 255. So just seeing the red there from Tom Query Road to Harrisburg, this could be a mess. So just letting you know, traffic-wise, see, we give you everything here during these live streams. But yeah, really what you've been going along with is just showing the investigations. But Brad, yeah, let's show them a new, most recent updated Futurecast to kind of show that secondary line, because this is not a one-pack storm. Now we're seeing a secondary line that's going to try to work its way through. So let's see how it's picking up on the clearing and everything. So that first initial line,
I'll load it real quick.
Yeah, the HRRR that we are is very faithful, because it updates every hour. It's what we usually use when things are actively happening. That lined up perfectly with the line for the timing.
Line,
here it
Chris, is right around 6 to 7. And those areas south and east, like Lancaster County, Wadesboro, that's the area where those rotational tracks were most prevalent. So those are the areas where we're probably going to be watching for potentially some more severe weather. Now, back in the foothills, I've been getting asked a lot about, what's back towards the foothills. I think we're okay back there. You've been socked in with rain and clouds all day. Yeah. You're going to have a tough time. Flash flooding's a bigger issue to the west. So really south and east of 85 was where I was worried about when I got up this morning and saw the setup. I was like, uh-oh, south and east of it. And sure enough, we had, 2 tornado warnings in that area just south and east of 85. But right there, Chris, it looks like because we're going to have a couple hours of sunlight here. And remember, this is the hottest part of the day, 4, 5, 6 o'clock this time of year. Sun doesn't set till like 8:30 now. So the hottest part of the day is 4, 5, 6 o'clock. And right around 6 o'clock, here comes that line, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then it looks like things will calm down tonight with just some scattered showers. We lose the heating of the day.
It should be stable at that point, so I wouldn't worry about that. You might hear some rumbles of thunder at that point. So
I'll leave it right there, because I think that's our next batch of rain.
Round 2. And Charlotte, at that point, maybe the southern part of the 485 loop, but yeah, I would say Lancaster County, Chesterfield County. I'm going to go back to the rotational tracks.
To show that, because if you line it up with that, you're going to see that.
Look at this, 7 o'clock. So there's a little bit of lag, so that's 6 o'clock. So it's right when you have that storm cell was about 5 to 6, Lancaster County, that's all lining up. And so many times when you see these, shows we could see that, and that's a main one. That is showing a medium to high. That would be a long track if that came to fruition. So back to the HRRR, you can see the lineup. See actually a little bit of a bow here. Let me stop this. Yeah, so this is picking up on this right here. See how it has that little bit of a bow? And there's little kinks right along there. Same type of setup. And it's going to do the same thing where it's going to kind of curve up in that general fashion. So once it's doing that, it can be very strong. Notice how much it amplifies there. So it could be pretty much where we saw the tornado warnings, just south and southeast of there. That's going to be your best chance. Well, Brad, we're closing in at 3 o'clock. Yeah. You have some work to do, because I think you have a show to get done. So thank you for following along with us. If you are a weather enthusiast, I'm sure that was pretty cool. Just for us, just in general, actually watching the storms, one thing that we learned, that you don't necessarily have to have a tornado warning for it to happen. Yeah. Whenever you have those type of environments, those weather-aware days, you have to be weather-aware, and we still have another round, especially down to the south. Continue to do that. Brad will continue to keep you updated, and we'll do the same thing online. Thanks for joining us.